Hey guys, it's Christine, also known as IvyWinter. Thank you for joining me for another Disney video. Today's topic is going to be on the rides and attractions that you must run to at Rope Drop at each of the parks. So what is rope drop if you don't know what I mean? Basically the definition of rope dropping is arriving at the park at or preferably before opening for when they drop the ropes and let people in. And the idea of this is to do it so that you can get in line for rides and get the big ones out of the way and not spend too much time waiting for them so you can enjoy the rest of your day without worrying about if you're gonna get on the biggest ride in the park. Now, I can be really lazy in the mornings. I'm not a morning person, not at Disney, not anywhere, and so I don't tend to rope drop too much, but I did it in Disneyland Paris, and honestly it was the best decision I could have made because I got to go to parks super early, check out the most popular rides, and get on them fairly quickly, enjoy the park when it was quieter, and I just said to myself, you need to get up and do this in Disney World more often because it will totally be worth it. But if you are a person who is down to rope drop, if you're ready to get up early and knock certain attractions out of the way early, these are the ones that you should be running for. I'm going to do what I always do, and I always say this, I start from the oldest park to the youngest to the baby. So we're gonna start with the Magic Kingdom. Magic Kingdom, the first ride you should be running to is Seven Dwarfs Mine Train. It's back in New Fantasyland. I think the best route, if you can't cut through Cinderella Castle, is to go to the right past the teacups and up that way, but I don't know, maybe some people like to go to the left and go through that back path behind the castle past the fountain. I'd love to know in the comments below which one do you think is faster, but I think that Seven Dwarfs Mine Train is going to be the first thing you want to run to. It's still very popular, even though it opened 5 years ago. I know, can you believe it? I feel like it just came out like, I don't know, 2 years ago. Came out 5 years ago, but it is relatively the newest ride in Magic Kingdom. Because of this, it still attracts a lot of people. You have to remember that not everyone goes to Disney every year, every 2 years. So for a lot of people, this is their first visit or their first visit in a while, and they've never been on this ride, so they want to go to Seven Dwarfs. It also has a huge appeal because it is a kid-friendly coaster. It's still fun, it's still thrilling, I love it, but it is way more suited for younger kids, and so you're gonna just have more people who are riding it in general, more families. So you definitely want to beeline for Seven Dwarfs if that's on your list. If you care a little less about that, then I would say the next thing would be Peter Pan. I'm not the biggest fan of Peter Pan. Some of you guys know this. I did an unpopular Disney opinion about it. You guys can watch that. But Peter Pan always notoriously has the longest lines ever. It's partly because of popularity, partly because of how they load the ride and the slowness of loading the ride. It's also because there's an interactive queue that kind of slows things down. All of this culminates into madness, and so if you do want to do Peter Pan, first thing, because otherwise the lines are just going to be outrageous, and I don't think that it is a ride that is worth a couple of hours wait. I don't care who you are. If nothing in Fantasyland appeals to you and you're thinking about the mountains, Space Mountain would be the one that I would rope drop. I always have seen Space Mountain's line grow the fastest. It is probably, I would say, the most thrilling of the three mountains, so it attracts a lot of thrill seekers. Splash doesn't really get a line till later in the day because who wants to get wet in the morning? And Big Thunder does get a line, but I still see that the wait times take a little longer to pick up than Space does. So if you're picking a mountain, definitely head to Space. Now, next is Epcot, and I would say that the one that you've got to run to first is going to be Test Track. Again, another ride that's been around for quite a long time, but still has a very long line. Originally opened in 1999 in the old crash test dummy version. I know there's a lot of split feelings about that. I think that the new version's so much better, but a lot of people miss the old version. It did get refurbed to the new version in 2012, but even if you think of it from then, that's still like a 7-year-old ride, and yet, super long lines. So I recommend that you run there first. Even if you're considering single rider, their single rider can sometimes take a while. And part of the reason you also want to go there first, besides the long line, is that if there's thunderstorms in the area and lightning, they usually shut it down because it has an outside track. So I've seen that happen a ton of times. I've seen Test Track come up and go down and come up and go down. So I feel like it breaks down quite a bit and also has to be shut down for weather quite a bit. So if you want to avoid the possibility of that later in the day, you also want to do this first. If not Test Track, your other two options for rope dropping I think are Frozen or Soarin'. Frozen still has quite an appeal, not as long as lines as it was when it opened, which I think was like 5 or 6 hours. It was absurd. I remember people like documenting how long the lines were. But it's still gonna appeal to a lot of kids, a lot of families, because it is a slower boat ride, because it's Frozen. I mean, kids love Frozen. I don't really like the movie, to be honest, but I love this ride. I think the animatronics and the facial projection mapping is cool. I love the Let It Go scene. It's actually a really neat ride and worth it. Not like a couple of hours worth it though. So I would either head there first or head to Soarin', which can still garner quite a bit of a wait, although with how many theaters there are, it's never too bad unless you're there for holidays and peak seasons, but that would be your other option. Everything else in Epcot, you know, for the most part, can be a really short wait. You know, you've also got the videos and you've also got enjoying the atmosphere, so you're not worrying about waits as much. So moving on to Hollywood Studios, I would say, as of today, November 2019, you're gonna wanna go to Smuggler's Run. Galaxy's Edge being so new, everyone wants to check it out. Everyone wants to get on Smuggler's Run. Again, another ride that the wait isn't too bad even midday because of how many people are loaded, how efficient that kind of runs, but still, get it done in the earliest time that you can. Enjoy Galaxy's Edge when it's a little bit quieter, because trust me, it's gonna get crazy as the day goes on. If Star Wars is not your thing, then I would say Slinky Dog. That is gonna be the other option that you're going to want to run to in Toy Story Land, because that still also has quite a long wait. Now, I said as of today in November. Why? Because in December, Rise of the Resistance is opening, and from all of the hype, I feel like it's gonna far surpass Smuggler's Run. And when that happens, you're gonna see longer lines. I mean, it's gonna be newer, so people wanna check it out anyway, but I think it's gonna be the ride of Galaxy's Edge. And so that will eventually be the one that you're gonna wanna run to, but hey, if you're planning a trip in the next 2 weeks, it's gonna be Smuggler's Run. And lastly, but never least, is Animal Kingdom. And I think this is a fairly obvious one, but you're gonna wanna run to Pandora and do Flight of Passage, which is a phenomenal ride. I love it. It's still my favorite ride on property, even after Smuggler's Run. We'll see if that changes with Rise, I don't know. But I'd actually rope dropped for it. That's how much I love it. That's how motivated I was to ride it a second time after I did a fast pass. So I got there 45 minutes before opening and got in line and still waited about 65 minutes to get on the ride. I don't know if that's changed. That was about 3 to 4 months after Pandora opened, so are the lines about the same? Are they longer, shorter for rope drop? I haven't rope dropped to Animal Kingdom in a while, so if you have, let me know in the comments below. But definitely Flight of Passage, 100%, especially if you can't get your hands on a fast pass. And then after that, go right to Navi River Journey, because it's still gonna be less of a wait than later in the day. And, you know, again, one of the newest rides, so you might as well do it, get Pandora done with, and then move on to the rest of the park for the rest of the day. So that is it. Those are my rides that I think you must rope drop. And again, like I said, this is always changing, right? I mean, these rides, some of them didn't exist a few years ago, and so it was different rides then. You know, in 2 years, Tron's gonna be open, and then that's gonna be the go-to ride for Magic Kingdom. It's gonna knock Seven Dwarfs aside. So this is an always changing, evolving list, but as of right now, this is the rides I think that you need to run to. Let me know if you agree or disagree. Let me know if you're a rope dropper or not. What was your last rope drop experience like? You can tell me in the comments below. If you like this video, then like it. If you like me, you should subscribe. I make videos every single week. And if you want to chat Disney, join the Discord. There's a great group of people who have been chatting in there. We've been talking about all sorts of things, movies, Disney Plus, the book club. So the link will be down below. Thank you so much for watching. And as always, have a great rest of the day. Bye.